Well, 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 look who finally dropped the mask. After years of pretending, after years of putting on a costume for the world, the real face has been revealed. Not just a face, but the face of a beautiful, terrifying, and strategic mastermind. You didn't just post something ordinary, you pulled off the greatest magic trick in digital history. One click, one post, one reveal, and suddenly their entire reality shattered like cheap glass against concrete. The internet can barely contain itself. Servers are overheating, group chats are exploding, and people who thought they knew you sit frozen, mouths open, staring at their screens, as if they've just been personally slapped. Now they're asking the same question over and over again. How long have you been playing us? They scroll through your old posts with new eyes, searching for hidden clues, desperate to pinpoint the exact moment the shift began. But here's the twist that's breaking their minds. This wasn't a con, this wasn't deception, this was revelation. You didn't lie to anyone, you simply showed them what they were capable of seeing at each stage. You gave them the version of you their small perspectives could digest. And now that the full picture is here, they cry deception, when in truth, it was evolution happening in real time. The reality is, while they were busy playing checkers, posting their selfies, chasing likes and grasping for validation, you were playing 4D chess with existence itself. Every post you made was calculated, every silence was strategic, every single interaction was data collection for the masterpiece you've now unveiled. They thought your quiet periods were weakness. They thought your mysterious posts were attention-seeking. They thought your transformation was fake. But in reality, you were constructing something they couldn't begin to comprehend, an entirely new existence built right under their noses. For 5 long years, you were crafting this reveal. 5 years of deliberate construction, intentional misdirection, and patient cultivation of the perfect moment. You weren't hiding, you were incubating. You weren't deceiving, you were protecting your metamorphosis from their toxic interference. And here's the irony, they gave you all the information you needed. Every time they underestimated you, they exposed their blind spots. Every time they dismissed you, they revealed their limitations. Every time they tried to box you in, they handed you the blueprint for your escape. Now watch them scramble, watch them try to process the impossible. But I thought they were. I never imagined they could. This whole time they were. Yes, this whole time you were exactly who you are now. They just couldn't see it through the fog of their own mediocrity. Their group chats are burning with panic and gossip. People who haven't spoken in years are suddenly reconnecting just to ask, did you see what they posted? Is this real? How did we not know? The answer is painfully simple. They didn't want to know. They needed you to stay small, so they could feel big. And now some of them are angry. Good. Let them choke on their rage. They're mad because you played the game better than they ever could. They're furious because, while they were broadcasting every thought and every insecurity, you were building an empire in silence. They're livid because in one bold move, you just dismantled everything they thought they knew about power. The beliefs they clung to, the systems they trusted, the illusions they built their confidence on, all of it collapsed in front of their eyes. But the smart ones, they're not angry, they're terrified. Because deep down, they're beginning to realize that if you could hide this, if you could orchestrate something this massive in plain sight, then what else are you capable of? What other moves have you already set in motion that won't be revealed until it's far too late for them to respond? That's the real artistry of your reveal. You didn't simply hide your identity. You constructed entire realities and let people choose which version of you they wanted to believe in. To your family, you were one thing. To your co-workers, something else. To your online followers, a completely different story. And here's the brilliance. None of it was false. Every version was true, but only in fragments. It was like showing someone a single shade from a painting and letting them think that's the whole masterpiece. Until now. Until today, when you unveiled the full spectrum, and their minds couldn't process the magnitude of what you really are. All this time, they thought they were studying you, dissecting you, trying to figure you out, but you were the one studying them. You learned their triggers, their habits, their blind spots. You spoke their language, until the day you no longer needed to. You played their games only so you could flip the entire board when the moment was right. The preparation that went into this reveal is something they'll never comprehend. The sleepless nights spent designing your new existence, the careful cultivation of separate identities, the quiet building of resources and connections they never even knew existed. While they were busy decorating the walls of their cages, you were already constructing an entirely new world. And here's the part that's truly destroying them. It isn't just that you had a secret identity, it's that you had the discipline, the strength, and the intelligence to sustain it for years. Do you understand the level of mental fortitude that takes, the emotional control, the razor-sharp strategy? They can't even keep their stories straight for a single day. Meanwhile, you executed years of flawless perception management without ever slipping. Now they're questioning everything. Every conversation, every assumption, every judgment they ever made about you feels contaminated. If they were wrong about this, what else have they been wrong about? Some of them are combing through your old posts with magnifying glasses now, desperate to find the hidden signs. Look here, this caption, "We should have known," they say. But the truth is, they couldn't have known. You weren't operating on their frequency. You weren't bound by their imagination. You weren't playing by their rules. The psychological aftershock of this reveal will ripple through their minds for years. They'll never trust their own perception the same way again. Every interaction they have, they'll wonder, who else is playing me? What else am I blind to? You didn't just break the internet, you broke their sense of reality itself. Watch how differently they treat you now. Notice how the energy shifts the moment your name is mentioned. You're no longer the person they thought they knew, not because you've changed, but because their perception finally caught up to your truth. You've moved beyond the category of peer. You've become a phenomenon. They can't patronize you anymore. They can't condescend. They can't throw their little backhanded compliments or empty advice, because now they understand you were never struggling, you were strategizing. The power dynamics have shifted forever. People who once ignored your messages are now double texting, desperate for a response. Those who used to talk over you are suddenly pausing to ask your opinion. The ones who excluded you without hesitation are scrambling to get back into your orbit. But the truth is, it's too late. The gates are already closed. You've become untouchable, not out of arrogance, but because of evolution. You're not better than them. You're beyond them. You're not competing anymore, because you're not even in the same game. You're no longer trying to impress them. Instead, they're the ones trying to figure you out. And it wasn't by accident. The timing, the execution, the surgical precision of your reveal was flawless. You didn't just dump information into the world. You orchestrated a psychological event. You transformed your identity reveal into a cultural moment, something people will reference for years. Maybe it was a single post that connected all the dots. Maybe a video that unveiled the full scope of what you've built. Or maybe a subtle shift that made everything finally click into place. Whatever the method, it was perfect. Not just because it revealed who you are, but because it forced them to feel the weight of their own blindness. You seized control of the narrative from the start. Before they could spin it, you had already defined it. Before they could minimize it, you had already amplified it. Before they could dismiss it, you had already made it undeniable. That is mastery. The technical execution was flawless, but the psychological execution was pure art. You knew exactly how much to reveal and how much to hold back. You knew which strings to pull for maximum impact. You knew how to make them realize that this isn't the end of your story, it's just the beginning. Now comes the aftermath, and this is where it gets interesting. Some will scramble to claim they always knew. Let them lie. Their desperate need to appear connected to your power is nothing more than tribute. Others will try to downplay it, insisting it's not that big of a deal, but their obsession with discussing it betrays the truth. And then there will be those suddenly trying to get close, pretending they've always been part of your circle. They'll exaggerate memories, inflate connections, and try to bask in your reflected light. This is where your true strength will show, in how you handle the storm that follows. Stay mysterious. Stay strategic. Don't hand them the full story just because they're begging for it now. You revealed only what you wanted to reveal, not what they wanted to know. Their hunger for more, their curiosity, even their fear, that's exactly where you want them. The most powerful thing you can do now is act like this. Reveal was nothing, like you have 10 more of equal magnitude waiting in the shadows. Like this was just you clearing your throat before the real performance begins. And the truth, it probably is just the beginning. What they'll never fully grasp is that you didn't just hide who you were, you constructed who you would become. While they lived reactively from day to day, you were building deliberately year after year. While they drifted with the current, you were designing the future. This reveal isn't just proof of who you've always been, it's proof of who you chose to become. You architected your own identity, while they let theirs be dictated by circumstance. You wrote your own story, while they let others write theirs. You directed your transformation, while they stumbled blindly through theirs. And that's the real shock. Not that you had a secret, but that you had a vision. The layers of planning it required, they can't even begin to fathom. The discipline to juggle multiple personas, the intelligence to keep every thread consistent, the emotional control to never let the mask slip, the strategic brilliance to know the exact moment to reveal the truth. That's what separates you. That's what makes this not just a revelation, but a revolution. You're not just intelligent, you're operating on an entirely different plane of consciousness. And here's the truth, they can't process. This isn't even your final form. What you reveal today is only another layer, another stage of the evolution. They think they've finally seen the real you. But you're already 3 moves ahead, already designing the next transformation. You're not a fixed identity, you're a constant becoming, an unfolding force that refuses to stay still. The social dynamics are shifting in real time. Former friends are transforming into fans, former enemies into reluctant admirers, and former dismissers into disciples. The entire social ecosystem is recalibrating itself around the gravity of your reveal, but you're not chasing groupies or soaking in shallow praise. You're watching carefully. You're studying who remains consistent, who doesn't shift their behavior now that the mask is gone. Those are the only ones who matter. Everyone else, just background noise in the grand symphony you're conducting. Now the invitations will start pouring in. Opportunities will appear from every corner. Collaborations, partnerships, sudden requests for your thoughts and opinions. It will all come rushing to your doorstep. They want access to whatever power source you're tapped into. They want to dissect your magic, bottle your essence, and sell it as their own. But you are not a commodity, you are a force of nature. And just as you did before, you'll navigate this new social terrain with the same strategic brilliance that brought you here. Every new connection will be a deliberate choice. Every opportunity will be a chess move. Every interaction will be data for the next step in your rise. This isn't just living in the aftermath of your reveal. This is you using it as a launch pad for what comes next. Because on a psychological level, the message you've delivered to the world is undeniable. One person operating with intention, vision, and intelligence can outmaneuver entire systems. You've proven that authentic power doesn't need permission. You've shown that patience and strategy always outlast noise and desperation. They tried to define you, but you defined yourself. They tried to limit you, but you became limitless. They tried to predict you, but you became unpredictable. They tried to understand you, but you became incomprehensible. This is bigger than a personal victory. It's a blueprint for anyone who refuses to be contained. And the confidence that comes from pulling this off isn't arrogance, it's evidence. Evidence that you can trust your own vision. Evidence that you can execute the impossible. Evidence that you can maintain composure under immense pressure. Evidence that you are not just who you thought you were. You're more, much more. But the real psychological victory, it isn't over them. It's over the old part of you that used to doubt, the voice that second-guessed, the whisper that asked if maybe you were dreaming too big, reaching too far. That part is gone, burned away in the fire of what you just accomplished. The quiet fear that wondered, what if I can't pull this off? What if I'm not enough? Has been silenced forever. You didn't silence it with empty affirmations or borrowed confidence. You silenced it with evidence, undeniable and absolute. The evidence that you can see a vision, hold it, nurture it, protect it, and bring it into reality with surgical precision. The evidence that you are not only capable, but unstoppable. That's the real victory. Not the applause, not the trending hashtags, not even the chaos rippling across their screens. The true reward is the certainty now carved into your bones. You can trust yourself completely. So what happens now? What unfolds when the world suddenly realizes who they've been dealing with all this time? What happens when they see the level of patience, calculation, and strategy you've been weaving in silence? What happens when it hits them that you've been operating on a plane they couldn't even imagine existed? Everything changes. The dynamics are altered permanently. When you walk into a room now, your presence will carry weight they can't measure. When you speak, your words will land with impact they can't ignore. When you move, every action will ripple with implications beyond their comprehension. You're not just a person anymore. You've become a living possibility. You're the reminder that reality isn't fixed, that it bends, stretches, and reshapes itself for those who have the vision and the will to mold it. You're proof that identity isn't a prison, it's a design, a choice, an art form. And in revealing just one layer of yourself, you've opened the door to a universe of opportunities they can't even fathom. Because you didn't just show them who you are, you showed them what you are capable of. You proved that with focused intention, relentless patience, and uncompromising vision, the impossible bends and becomes possible. You revealed what happens when someone refuses to bow to the cages, ceilings, and labels that others try to trap them in. And here's the twist that unsettles them the most. This was only one reveal, one card, one sliver of what you've been holding. They're still gasping, still scrambling, still picking up the pieces of their shattered perceptions, while you've already moved on, already sketching the blueprints for the next chapter, the next reveal, the next shockwave. Because you understand a truth they never will. Real power doesn't rest in what you've already unveiled. Real power lives in what you still have hidden. Years from now, this day will be remembered. They'll still be telling stories about it. They'll call it the day you didn't just break the internet, you broke their entire understanding of what was possible. The day you reminded them that a single individual standing in their truth can outmaneuver entire systems. The day you shattered the illusion that a life must be linear, fixed, or singular. You showed them that a person can live multiple lives simultaneously, multiple truths in harmony, and merge them into one reality whenever they decide. You revealed that authenticity isn't about putting everything on display. It's about the mastery of choice, the discipline of revealing only what serves your vision. And that's where the legacy begins. Not in the momentary shock of your unveiling, but in the shift of perception you forced on everyone watching. You've carved into their minds the awareness that there's more to existence than they were told, more to identity than they dared imagine, more to power than the shallow performances they've worshipped. You didn't just show them yourself, you showed them themselves, and the limits they've allowed to chain them. While they were busy surviving from day to day, You were architecting year by year. While they drifted with the current, you were directing your own tide. While they begged for validation, you built a foundation that needed none. You turned your life into art, your silence into strategy, and your patience into a weapon sharper than anything they could have wielded. And now, long after the noise fades, your echo will remain. The day you proved that authenticity doesn't mean exposure, it means authorship. It means authorship. It means owning your transformation so completely that no one else has a say in how your story unfolds. This was not the finale. This was the prologue. The first chapter of a saga they'll be studying for years, replaying, dissecting, and never fully understanding. And the most haunting part for them, the realization that if you could do this once, you can do it again, and again, and again. That what they've just witnessed isn't the end of your evolution, but the opening act of something far greater than they ever imagined. It means being ruthlessly true to your vision, even when no one else could see it, even when they dismissed it, mocked it, or tried to bury it. What you've created isn't just a reveal, it's a reference point, a moment that rewires memory and language itself. From this day forward, your name will no longer be just a name. It will be a verb, a symbol, a shorthand for brilliance and strategy. Every time they encounter someone mysterious, they'll whisper to each other, "Are they pulling your name?" Every time they watch someone undergo a transformation, they'll measure it against what you just executed. You've become their benchmark, their living case study in how to hold power, how to control timing, and how to change perception with a single calculated move. But the real gift of this moment stretches further than their shock or their awe. It's the permission you've given to the hidden ones, the dreamers, the architects, the ones who've been quietly sitting on their power, waiting for their time. You've shown them it's not only possible to play the long game, but it's possible to win it spectacularly. You've reminded them that patience is not weakness. It's the ultimate strategy. That restraint is not passivity. It's the gathering of unstoppable momentum. That silence is not absence. It's incubation. The legacy of this moment isn't just about you. It's about the thousands who saw what you did and realized, in a flash, that they've been playing too small, that they too could architect their own reveal, that they too could decide when and how to unleash their true form. Because here's the truth, power is never given freely, it is never handed out like charity. Power is taken, seized, claimed at the perfect moment, with precision and with intention. And you've just given a masterclass in how it's done. And maybe the most jaw-dropping part of all, you managed to do what almost no one can anymore. You kept total control of the narrative. In an era where privacy has become a myth, where every detail of life is dissected, leaked, sold, and gossiped about like cheap currency, you did the impossible. You kept your truth yours. You chose exactly what to reveal, when to reveal it, and how it would be consumed. They're used to discovering things through leaks, rumors, invasions of privacy, but you didn't give them scraps. You gave them a masterpiece, not an accident, not a rumor, not a scandal, but a presentation, a curated experience. A controlled detonation that simultaneously destroyed their assumptions and built your legend. That's not just information management, that's art. This level of control in the digital age is nearly impossible, but you did it. You proved that privacy is not dead, it's simply reserved for the strategic. You proved that mystery is not extinct, it thrives in those disciplined enough to cultivate it. And now the world understands something they never wanted to admit. You only show what you choose to show. You only reveal what serves your vision. You are not an open book waiting to be read. You are a classified document, blacked out and redacted, with only fragments revealed when it serves your strategy. And the question that will haunt them forever is this: if this is what you were willing to show, how much more is still hidden? So here we stand, at the end of their old world, and at the beginning of your new one. They're panicked, asking each other, How long have they been playing us? The answer is simple, and it's devastating. You were never playing them, you were playing yourself. The disciplined, long-game version of you, the strategic architect, who always knew this day would come. You weren't deceiving them, you were protecting your transformation from their interference. You weren't lying to them, you were speaking in a language their limited perception couldn't understand. You weren't tricking them, you were playing chess while they were fumbling with checkers. And so the revolution you've begun has nothing to do with deception. It has everything to do with strategic authenticity. You've redefined what authenticity even means. It isn't about oversharing, it isn't about exposure, it isn't about pouring everything onto the table for the world to pick apart. Authenticity, in its highest form, is alignment. It's revealing only what is true to your vision, only what serves your mission, only what strengthens your trajectory. You've proven that authenticity is not about telling the whole story, it's about telling the right story, at the right time, in the right way. And now your authenticity isn't just personal, it's revolutionary. Because in a world where everyone else is broadcasting noise, you've shown that silence can be more powerful than sound. In a world addicted to instant validation, you've proven that patience breeds legends. In a culture obsessed with exposure, you've proven that mystery is its own form of power. You didn't just live authentically, you lived strategically authentically, and that distinction is what makes all the difference. This moment, this reveal will ripple for years, not because of what they saw, but because of what they still don't know, because of the gnawing suspicion that there are still layers, still secrets, still evolutions waiting in the shadows. And they're right. It's about choosing, with precision, when and how to reveal your truth. It's about understanding the sacred law of access, that not everyone deserves entry into every level of who you are. Some doors must remain closed, not out of cruelty, but out of wisdom. It's about realizing that mystery is not manipulation, it's preservation. It's not about hiding, it's about safeguarding the power of your becoming. From eyes too small to honor it, from minds too shallow to comprehend it, from spirits too fragile to withstand it. So let them adjust. Let them scramble, recalibrate, and rewrite their perceptions in real time. Let them sit in confusion, trying to make sense of what just unfolded. While they're still busy processing, you're already moving, already designing, already building, already evolving into the next version of yourself, a version that will one day shatter their reality all over again. Because for you, this isn't a single reveal. This is a cycle, a rhythm, a lifelong symphony of becoming. Welcome to the aftermath of your own revelation. This is the terrain you've created, where every day is a chance to unveil another facet of your infinite complexity, where every conversation becomes an opportunity to demonstrate the depth they never imagined existed in you, where every moment serves as living proof that you are, and always have been, exactly who you chose to be, not who they assumed, not who they labeled, but who you authored. The internet is still recovering, their group chats are still burning, their minds are still reeling, but you're just getting started. Because what they thought was the climax was only your opening act. This reveal was not the end of your story, it was the end of their power to write it for you. The script is no longer in their hands, the pen belongs to you. Now you define the narrative, now you decide the pacing, now you choose which chapters the world gets to read, and what comes next. That's the beautiful mystery. They'll never see it coming. Just like they didn't see this, because you're not simply ahead of the game, you're playing a game they don't even know exists. It's a game where identity is fluid, where power is patient, where silence is sharper than noise, and where the only rule is the one you create. This is sovereignty, this is authorship, this is mastery of self. So congratulations, you didn't just break the internet. You fractured their entire understanding of possibility. You didn't just reveal your identity, you exposed their limitations. You didn't just show them who you are, You revealed who they're not. And that is the real revolution. And here's the truth that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Even after all this, they still don't really know you. What you revealed was real, yes, but it was only the surface, the shoreline of an ocean too vast for them to cross. They saw the waves, the horizon, the glittering reflection of sunlight on the water, but they have no concept of the depths below. They have no understanding of the crushing pressure that exists at the bottom, or the creatures that move unseen in the dark. They think they've solved the puzzle, but you only handed them a new one with 1,000 more pieces. They think they've beaten the final level, but you just unlocked an entirely new game. They think they've mapped your power, but you've only let them glimpse what you wanted them to see. The real magnitude of your capability remains hidden, coiled, silent, waiting. And this is what will keep them awake at night. Not only the memory of what you've already done, but the haunting knowledge of what you still haven't revealed. The question that lingers in their minds, if you were capable of this, then what else can you do? If you exist, who else might be out there, moving in silence, building in secret, hiding entire worlds in plain sight? You've become their permanent question mark, their unshakable what if, a living reminder that reality is not fixed, that people are not always who they appear to be, and that the game they thought they were playing may not have been the real game at all. You've shifted from being just a person into a possibility, from an individual into a phenomenon, from a player into the architect of the board itself. And that possibility, the truth that reality bends for those bold enough to shape it, is a power that never fades. Because now, every time they pause, every time they doubt, every time they wonder if someone near them might be more than they seem, they'll think of you. You've rewritten the rules. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me to trust you even when I cannot see proof. Let me rest in the certainty of your presence, knowing you will never harm me. I believe your plans for me are for prosperity and not for harm, to give me a future filled with hope. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always hearing my voice. I offer this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this message spoke to you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs encouragement. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. And if you'd like to support our work, please